do you obtain consent after July the 1st?
That you can still do. But it does get tricky because the question becomes, how do you obtain that initial consent? We actually, you and I just forwarded it along. We actually got an unsolicited mail from somebody who was looking at the relmar.com website, and that was something that was sent without our consent at all. So I think that's an example of a communication that would not be protected by Castle. Somebody like that could be fined for sending something like that. And because the law is pretty broad, it doesn't just cover email, it covers computer programs that are installed, a lot of electronic mechanisms. It almost seems like you would have to obtain that consent through mail or basically non-electronic means.
Well, here's a question. If I want to obtain consent from, let's say, somebody in Kelowna, BC, I call him up and say, hey, listen, Jim, it's Rob over here at the X Zone. If you'd like to take part in our email newsletter, go to, relmar.com, signmeup.htm, and there you'll find a place where you can sign up for the newsletter. Is that within the law?
It remains to be seen, and as always, I'm not a legal advisor, so you can take anything I say with a grain of salt. If you wanted to be very careful and protect yourself, you could obtain permission over the phone to record a message like that, and then you would be 100% covered, as far as I know.
Or you could fax him the information.
There you go.
Dear so-and-so, due to the new Canadian anti-spam legislation, we require your consent to join our email list. If you would like to join the email list, go to such and such a website and fill out the subscription form. Bang.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about loopholes before. I'll tell you something that's really interesting, something I haven't seen reported much, but this is right from the Government of Canada's own website. Company A can collect express consent to send an electronic message, and they can actually give that consent, almost transfer it later on to companies B or company X, or companies that don't even exist yet, just companies they might do business with in the future. So basically, I guess the big loophole in this legislation is it doesn't protect the consumer against future business relationships that companies that you deal with now might have. So basically, one company can still obtain consent today and sell it to a company in the future without your advance knowledge. Now, one thing they do have to do to be compliant is, if that future company sends you a message, they have to state somewhere in the body of the email message, maybe the fine print, that they receive consent from company A. They have to expressly put that somewhere in the email. But isn't it interesting that such a loophole even exists?
Yeah, it certainly is. Mind you, nothing surprises me when it comes to legislation. I'm trying to understand what the goal of this law is. Is it to give the government more access to electronic devices and electronic information? How are they going to monitor this?
That is a good question. There is some sort of enforcement mechanism, but one thing that people keep mentioning online is there's the possibility at some point in the future of class action lawsuits taking place. I really feel that a class action lawsuit would be directed more towards a larger business. There's a greater chance of that happening, but it is possible. If a smaller business is not compliant, they could be opening themselves up to liability later on in the form of a class action lawsuit.
To your knowledge, Corey, is there any software on the market that covers the new legislation that people can go check out, and if they like, they can purchase it?
It's a new field. The general advice that's out there is to stay away from that stuff for right now, because we don't know just yet how this law is going to be enforced, how vigorously it's going to be enforced, and there's still a lot of unknowns, really. And any software that says that they can protect you against this legislation, I would take that with a grain of salt.
Really? How will the CASL affect Facebook and other social networks?
That's a very good question, because it is the wording of the law covers what they call commercial electronic messages, and it's not just email. It could include basically messages sent from Facebook Messenger, Twitter, something like that. I could give you a concrete example of something that I think would not be compliant. Let's say you are on Facebook and you receive a Facebook message from basically a bot or a solicitor, someone that is using a name that sounds familiar to you. So you decide to accept that message, and then they say, hey, go to this website. I think something like that could be prosecuted. The future question becomes, did you give that person consent just by adding them as a Facebook friend, or just by consenting to receive that message? But spam and unsolicited messages through IM has been a problem since the beginning of instant messaging. So that's one area where I hope the law would protect the consumer. But I don't think anybody's going to proactively go in and step in for the consumer. You would almost have to have organized groups getting together to make that law work for them.
All right, Corey, stand by, old friend. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, the one and only Corey K is my special guest this hour, www.exonetexone.com. And Corey and I will be back on the other side of this short news break. Don't go away. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X-Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365. Now you can dial in to listen to the X-Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we get back to Corey K. from the X-Zone Tech Zone, I would just like to remind everyone that we are in the middle of a 60-day quest here at the X-Zone. We're helping Sylvia Anthony from Sylvia's Haven raising money. We're trying to help her raise $300,000 at Indiegogo, which is a crowdfunding site, to spread Sylvia's Havens throughout the United States. Now, Sylvia is 84 years of age. Over the past 27 years, she has helped over 1,087 families. Women and children who have either become homeless or because of domestic violence needed a place. She has provided food, shelter, education. Up to 2 years, people have stayed within Sylvia's Haven, getting them on their feet, helping the children, giving them security, a home life. What I would like everyone to do who's listening tonight is go to www.sylviasdream.org. That's www.sylviasdream.org. Read the story. Then, please click on the Indiegogo logo link that we have there and make a donation. Whether it's $5, whether it's $2, whatever. Be part of a solution. In today's society, people are very cold, very callous. It seems that people don't care about people, but I know you guys in the X-Zone Nation. We care. So, please, www.sylviasdream.org is where you can make a donation. If you'd like to buy Sylvia's book, if you'd like to find out more about Sylvia's Haven, www.sylviashaven.org. That's www.sylviashaven.org. Thank you, X-Zone Nation. Please help us make a difference. Corey K. is our special guest this hour, www.xzonetechzone.com. And Corey, we're talking about the Canadian anti-spam legislation that goes into effect July the 1st. For a fast recap, this affects anybody in Canada sending a commercial electronic message, or a CEM, from one computer to another in Canada. It also affects people sending commercial electronic messages from a computer anywhere outside of Canada to a computer in Canada. People violating the CASL, can be fined up to $1 million if you're an individual. So let's say you're a mom and pop organization. You're selling, I don't know, alien turtlenecks. You can't send these emails if you're outside Canada to an email address in Canada unless you have prior permission. If you do, you can be fined up to $1 million. If you're a company within Canada or outside of Canada sending a Canadian